Welcome to NocBro Nation.
Welcome back, guys. Jarrell here.
And I'm Josh, and today we're here to discuss Daryl Dixon and some future storylines that could involve his character.
Yeah, guys, so we are going to be giving you guys the top 10 future storylines that Daryl Dixon could have in the future. We've seen Daryl have a bigger role in the TV show.
Yeah, well, obviously.
And I think that some of these certain scenarios could happen, some couldn't, but we want to give you the top 10. This actually comes from CBR.com. This was an article that they released.
Let's get into it. Number 10.
Number 10 is A Romance with Connie. So plenty of hints have been towards this definite connection between Daryl and Connie, and we have seen a connection with them in season 10 for a possible relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there is another thing. Could Daryl and Connie be having a setup to take over the Rick and Andrea from the comic books?
I don't think so. I think it's a little too late to be replacing a Rick and Andrea. I mean,
not necessarily.
We're in season 10, and we're
looking more as we're not necessarily take away Rick and Andrea. Yes, that happened.
Are you
in the
saying
comics.
To replace Andrea's comic book storyline?
Not a storyline.
The romance, and then
no, not the romance. It's more of how Rick and Andrea in the comics were a big item. Of course, it changed in the TV show with Rick and Michonne, but could they take Daryl and Connie and give them Rick and Andrea's, I wouldn't say complete comic storyline, but they could kind of mold that in some similarities. So number 9, Reuniting with Rick.
Okay, so I'm going to stop now and say anyone that is listening to watching this video right now, that should be number 1.
No, there's one's better. We'll see.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So this could be a long shot, but could we see Daryl transition into the film series? We know that he has a big contract with AMC. It doesn't necessarily mean the TV show. It could mean the TV show, spin-off series, and with Rick. So could they have him do both shows? Could they have, by the end of the Rick movies, they could have the two characters coming across each other, and maybe somewhere Daryl is urging Rick to come back home.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Or he just reunites when Rick gets back.
I would think that because he's pretty much a property of AMC, right? Like, he's in a contract with AMC, and I don't think he would even have a problem with doing the movies. Matter of fact, he'd probably welcome doing the movies.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So, I mean, yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah, I can definitely see it too. I think it could work. Whether he sees him in the movies and has him come back to Alexandria, or it's just the ending scene of Rick finally getting back and Daryl is there as well.
Much prefer that over the
urging.
Urging. Yeah, I want to see an actual reunion between them. Although, how can you outdo the hug at Hilltop?
Yeah,
like double hug.
Now maybe Daryl, well, actually it would be better coming from Judith, her giving Rick's handgun back to him. Even though Daryl already did it, I think it would be better with Judith doing it, actually.
Yeah, but I see Judith as more of like a run to daddy type deal,
That's
not
true.
Just a hand over a revolver.
Yeah, we could see Daryl handing him over. Oh. That'd be sick. All right, guys, number 8, facing off against Beta. So right now we are potentially maybe getting the comic book storyline to where Beta will be eventually in charge of the Whisperers due to the death of Alpha. Now, they need somebody that could have Daryl go head or have Beta go head to head with. That would be Daryl. So, would this be good to see a Daryl Beta one-on-one challenge for the end of the Whisperer War and possibly have Daryl take Beta out?
Yeah, we almost saw it, or we did see a little bit of it during the elevator scene last season. Last season?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Season 9 or season earlier in the season.
Yeah. But I just don't see it. I think that should be solely for its source material, and that should be Negan only.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think we'll get that in the war. But the thing is that, and they mentioned this in the article, is that Daryl, this would be the first time Daryl would be at the forefront of a war, because in All Out War, he was just a supporting character. He didn't do much in All Out War. So this would give Daryl an opportunity to take a lead, which we've kind of seen in the trailers he's going to be fighting. So I think it would be cool for him to be taking the lead to fight Beta. Yes, we want to see Negan fight Beta too. But I think I would rather have Daryl be the end game for Beta.
Yeah, it'd be sweet if they both did it at the same time. I mean, Beta's a big dude, and it's going to take probably more than one person to take this guy down.
Yeah.
So maybe both Negan and Daryl. But yes, I definitely agree with you. I think it'd be pretty cool to see Daryl in there.
That'd be cool. So guys, number 7, understanding Negan's change. So Negan is no longer the man that he used to be prior to All Out War. But nobody other than Judith is really able to see that right now. Daryl continues to treat Negan as an enemy. He's not very trusting of him, but he could have potentially let him out of jail, so he might be coming around to that change. But I think since Rick is gone, Daryl can have some dynamic that he had with Negan in the comics, referencing Rick and Negan in the comics. Rick and Negan had a lot of one-on-ones together, and I think that'd be cool to see with Daryl taking that piece of Rick's story to Negan.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Cool. One of my favorite things about the comic, when it came to Negan, was the part where him and Rick started to develop a bond, saving each other's life. Negan apologizing or having sympathy for Rick when Rick lost a loved one in the source material. And I definitely see that here mixed up with Daryl. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool. So it would be really good to see Daryl kind of telling everyone else that he is a changed man, and for others to accept Negan into their new society because he is a changed man. And I think everyone would trust Daryl and trust Judith, of course, that yes, Negan is cool, he's good, and there's a possible storyline that might prove that.
To play devil's advocate here, anyone in that lineup should have no reason to ever forgive Negan.
No, ever. Definitely not.
So and playing devil's advocate here.
No, for sure. And it will prove interesting when Maggie returns. Especially
Daryl, who was not only in the lineup, but also tortured by Negan.
Yeah. So it's going to be really
at the hand of Negan.
Exactly. So number 6, guys, estrangement with Carol. So there is a gray area where Carol is concerned. Daryl he's still trying to see the good in her. We know they have a close relationship, and we've seen Carol kind of unwinding a bit and kind of taking things into her own hands. So would it make sense for Daryl to he's already called her out on her stuff already, but do you think from the events from the cave that she's kind of, she lied about using pills, or she's using her pills. She used Lydia for her own purposes. Yeah. I wonder if there would be some kind of strain on the relationship with Carol.
Yeah, that'd be a tough bond to break. Mm-hmm. I mean, these two were originals. They were with each other from the beginning of the apocalyptic event. So I think she'd have to do a lot more.
Yeah.
I think at this point she'd probably have to get someone killed.
Yeah. Yeah, and we kind of saw in the trailer
someone
from the
close
caves.
To Daryl.
Who would that be?
Connie?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the fear right now is what would happen with Connie.
That's who I'm worried about.
Right.
She and Jerry, we do not see outside of the cave. Now, again...
In the trailer,
sorry.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, and they could have mixed that up. But yeah, that would be the one reason I would see Daryl separate himself from Carol.
Yeah. It could work, but it'd be tough to see.
It would be.
Yeah. So number 5 is discovering the Commonwealth. So one can usually predict where the show is going based on what's happening in the comic book, but Daryl's presence makes this rather unpredictable since he does not exist in the source material. So could there be an angle with the Commonwealth holds special interest rather than have Eugene in contact with them? Maybe they can change that up and have Daryl go and make contact with the Commonwealth instead. I don't see that. I think they're going to stick with the source material. Eugene is going to head that front, meeting the person on the other end and potentially getting that Commonwealth story arc rolling in.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if Daryl was there, but the only thing that's part of this that I do like is, could we see Daryl discovering this huge community and feeling out of place with how political that environment is? So from the source material, the Commonwealth is a very political type place. Your station is what you used to do prior to the apocalypse. Yeah. So if you were a janitor in the apocalypse, you're going to be a janitor in the Commonwealth. You're going to live in the lower, hood or whatever you want to, lower communities. And if somebody was like a lawyer, they would have higher amenities and higher living. Daryl would not be down for that. And
Well,
it's
first
exactly
of all,
how Rick used to see it.
Daryl wouldn't live that well in that scenario.
No, he wouldn't. But
No.
it'd be similar to how Rick was in the comics, where Rick didn't like that.
But let's talk about the source material and compare that to Daryl. I know that Daryl's not in the source material, but guess what? Rick is no longer in the show. So with that said, we have yet to see Daryl take on a true leader position in Alexandria or any of the other communities.
Yep.
So with that said, in the source material, Rick goes to the Commonwealth eventually to give his sense to appear as the leader of Alexandria and discuss with the leaders of Commonwealth their differences or their similarities. Do you think that Daryl gets thrust into that role when going to the Commonwealth, assuming he does go?
Assuming, yeah. I could see it. Definitely. If they make Daryl the leader.
Exactly. Because right now, he's not much of a leader, so you can't really say that that's going to happen. But if he were to be given more of a leadership role, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And that leads us into number 4.
I didn't know this, guys. Sorry.
Becoming the coalition's leader. So Daryl has gotten more focus since Rick's departure, but we still don't see him as a main leader on the show. Now that Michonne's Denai Guerrera is leaving, could this open up Daryl to take over the leader spot?
Yeah. You want to know my quick thought on this?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
What I liked about Rick being the leader, and I think a lot of people within the community, they followed Rick because Rick gave them moments of inspiration. And we've just yet to see that from Daryl. So I think if Daryl is given this iconic moment where he inspires people and, saves people's lives or whatever, I think then you can kind of thrust him more into the leader role.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's not very outgoing to be a leader, but he does do it through his actions. But a lot of his actions are secretive. Like, he does it by himself and nobody really knows until he comes back and says it's done. And that's the thing. Can he make hard decisions that would lead a group? Rick made hard decisions. Whether people liked it or not, they still followed him because of what Rick wanted to do, what he instilled in his people to do. Daryl, the personality is not there for Daryl. Daryl is one that likes to be on his own. He likes to do his own thing. He'll ask for help if he needs it, or he'll just go get it done. And he'll get his accolades then.
You could also make an argument that some of the decisions that Daryl has made in the past have not been good and have cost the group.
Yes, and those weigh on him a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Glenn's death is probably the biggest one.
Glenn's, Beth's. I mean, I wouldn't say Beth was his fault, but any person that has been close to Daryl and dies, he feels responsible.
Glenn was a big one. That was his fault.
Glenn was the biggest. Yeah, it was.
It was.
Glenn was
directly his fault.
Yeah, Glenn was the biggest. So could he be a leader? I would love to see him be more of a leadership role since we're having a major leader leave the show. But, what happens with Aaron? Or Father Gabriel? Is Daryl really going to take over, or is it going to be given to Father Gabriel or Aaron? I have no idea.
Yeah.
So, one that's really interesting, number 3, is leaving the communities to become a recluse again. After Rick's death / disappearance, Daryl left to go live on his own, and he was gone for years.
That's 6 years.
From the time jump. 6 years he was on his own.
That's a long time.
Yes, he was looking for Rick as well, but he was on his own.
We don't know if it was the full 6 years, but it was for quite some time.
It was basically, we didn't see him again until Carol started to come see him.
Yeah, but time skip, we don't know if it was
correct.
Maybe after year 3 he decided to stay out there.
That's true.
But I just don't see it because he's already done it.
Well, he's done it multiple times. Or has he done it multiple times? Maybe not to this extent, but I don't see him leaving again. Like, if something happened, the only thing I could see him leaving again is losing somebody close to him, Connie or Carol. Losing Carol, not going to happen because Melissa McBride has almost the same deal he does to stay on. Connie, I could see that.
I definitely could, yeah.
I can see him going away for a little while to just clear his head.
There's no other originals there that have been with Daryl as long as Carol, and we know that Carol's not leaving the show. So that leads me to believe if he were going to do this again, it would be because he fell in love with Connie and Connie passed.
Now, the one thing I don't like about this potential theory storyline is that would kind of negate him being a leader.
Yeah.
Leaders are not going to leave like that and just go sit on their own because they're mourning. I mean, yeah, we saw some stuff in the comic in the story arc of Rick. Yes, he did his mourning. He kind of didn't lead as much, but it wasn't for that amount of time, of course. So, number 2, which I don't really enjoy too much, but number 2 is becoming Judith and Lydia's guardian. Now, what other person is missing from that? Who do we not talk about very often?
RJ.
RJ. Yeah. RJ is always left out of all of this stuff. So, yes, Daryl has been Lydia's friend since she has come in. She allowed, he basically saved her life from being killed. And
we all know Judith is a little ass kicker.
Oh, little ass kicker, yeah.
I mean,
so
it definitely, especially with Judith, that is the de facto go-to guardian for Judith, assuming that Michonne's not around.
And that is the thing. With Michonne exiting, what is going to happen to Judith and RJ? Can't forget about RJ. Who would she leave them with? Be their guardian. It would be Daryl.
I would think so.
Unless, we'll have to find out. But, or maybe
But
Negan.
Then again, do you see Daryl taking on a guardian fatherly role? Like, we haven't seen it yet. And the thing is we're not going to be given these storylines out of the blue. Like, stories blossom. They grow.
I would say right now he's more being a guardian of Lydia than he is with Judith.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because Judith is strong and she's mostly with Michonne, so she's kind of doing well. But I think more of a guardian relationship with Lydia right now than with Judith. So that one's an interesting one. This one is interesting, number 1.
Let's stop there and give a spoiler alert for all those that have not read the source material at this time. Please stop if you do not want to know what happens to the lead protagonist in the source material. That is Rick Grimes. So there's your warning.
The TV series will eventually come to an end, and we're certain it will have the same flash forward and far future as it did in the comic books. They kind of flash forward a number of years to look at the future. However, to get there, a main character had to die in the comics, and that was Rick Grimes. Daryl may have avoided getting a lot of Rick Grimes storylines, but this one could be the fate for him if they want to have Daryl go out as being a symbol of their freedom and a symbol for the future. Yeah. Could they have Daryl kind of lead the group to realizing the Commonwealth isn't as good, and he helps free them and he pays for it with his life, or he gives his own life for that future?
I would definitely say we would have to see a lot from Daryl. Quite a few Rick moments in Daryl. Now, I've spoken about this, I think, in a couple of videos ago, that I think that Rick's speech to him in the hole resonated in whatever the hell that was. Yeah. Resonated with Daryl a lot, especially with Rick being gone now. But I could certainly see this if over the next 3 years, assuming the series lasts that long, and I believe it will, that he's given a lot of those moments that I'm looking for.
Yeah,
inspiring moments.
Inspiring moments, which leads back into the previous, storyline of him being a leader. Could he get to that point? And then when they end this series, if they decide to say, okay, let's end it like they did in the comics, to have someone go out and be the symbol of the future for Lydia, for RJ, for everyone, who would that be? It would be Daryl.
Yeah.
Pretty much one of the only people who is not in the source material. Daryl was made specifically for the TV show, and his popularity has grown ever since we first saw him. And I know a lot of fans say if you kill Daryl, it's the end of the show.
There's also the other side of that. There's also fans that don't like Daryl.
There are fans that don't like Daryl as well. And I would say, to be honest, Daryl did grow on me a little bit. And I love him. He's a great character. And I just want more from him. I want him to be more of a leader. And I think that if they go this route, it could fit.
Yeah.
And I think it would be a good end.
I definitely see it. I just, I'm looking for those moments. And I don't think I've seen too many up to date. So I'm hoping that we really, as the showrunners continue this series, I hope we get more of those moments. Because even this season, they're lacking. Like, there's not much.
Yeah. And imagine this, guys. If they go that route and Daryl dies, and then they skip ahead maybe like 10 years for this future plot, guess who's going to be wearing his jacket? Judith.
Yeah.
Judith will be like a teenager or in her early 20s or something wearing that jacket.
But if you flash forward 10 years and you see a statue of Daryl and it shows his speech down there because he's the one that brought these communities up.
Daryl and Rick.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Are you, as a viewer of seeing this series, going to be more pissed that Daryl's statue's up there when he didn't do as much as Rick? That's assuming that they don't give him these inspiring moments.
Right, yeah. They would have to really give him a lot for him to have a statue like they did with Rick Grimes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We need to see these moments from Daryl to prove to us that he can be that Rick Grimes.
Exactly. So guys, we hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know if you think these 10 future storylines could happen. Which ones would, which ones wouldn't, which ones are ridiculous. I will leave the link in the description to the source from CBR.com. Thank you so much for actually writing that. That was actually a really good idea. This is something that we probably wouldn't have been able to think of.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you, I still think that number 9, Reuniting with Rick, is number 1.
Should be number 1.
Yep.
Yeah, guys. So let us know in the comments your thoughts. Feel free to subscribe, smash the like button to let us know what you think, and stay tuned for more Walking Dead theories and videos from us. I'm Jarrell.
I'm Josh.
We're NocBro Nation.
We're out.